Hello, podcast listeners. This is the Photo Op Podcast. I'm Ben Lucas.
And I'm Stuart Marlantis.
And this is Photo Op, the show where we talk about all things photo and video. And here we are, Season 2. We have brand new intro music. And today we are doing But Why Part 2, where we dig into kind of everything inside the brain about why we do what we do.
Yeah, it's really more of the photo philosophy podcast, with episode 1 and episode 2 at least of season 2.
Neat. Okay, so I believe we have a listener question. We're going to try to start every episode with a listener question.
Yeah, we have a question from Tay, and he asked, I'm getting into modeling. Do you have any advice for poses, how to look, how to behave as a model?
Music is distracting.
Yeah, it's going to turn off in a second. I was just going to let it run out.
Yeah, just, all right.
Like that, right?
There it is. Boom.
I was
Boom,
trying to time it
done.
so that we're good.
Look at you. You know how long our stinger is. I, the one who have edited 78 plus episodes.
Well, I also
don't know.
I also can cheat and look at the timer. So.
Oh, yeah, there's that. Cheater. Okay, sorry. Yeah, posing questions. That sounds like more of a me answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I would say a few of the really important things. One is to learn your angles. Try not to be completely static. If you are not familiar with this term, Google contrapposto, which is the,
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, it is basically the Greek sculpture thing where nothing is straight. Your shoulders are tilted level, your hips are tilted level, all of your weight's kind of one side, and you get kind of this S curve going throughout your body, and it adds a lot more alive, dynamic look to you, your body, and thus the images.
Yeah, look like a Greek statue. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
Just do that.
Just work out until you look like Michelangelo's David. No, but it really is, seriously, look at Michelangelo's David, and if you draw a line from one shoulder to one shoulder and one hip to the other hip, you'll see that none of these things are flat and level. They're all diagonal. That is the whole point. That is what adds kind of the dynamism and the motion to a still image. One of the other kind of easy things is always look at your eye line. So for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm going to look at you. But when you are looking directly into the camera and when you're looking directly profile, there's kind of this 3/4 point where your nose is slightly poking over the edge of your cheek. You don't want your nose to break the edge of that cheek. So unless you go full profile, you need to learn from the camera angle, how far can I tilt my head before I'm breaking that cheek plane? And then you want to kind of stay within that. Unless the photographer is explicitly telling you to do something because they can see the camera and they have a vision for something. Otherwise, it just generally looks bad form. It's the same thing with eye lines. If you're looking straight into the camera and then you are tilting your eye line out because they say look off to the side, at some point you're looking way too far off to the side and you just see whites. You don't see pupils anymore. That's bad. So look at yourself in the mirror a lot. Practice shifting your weight and doing these different angles and poses. Figure out where can you put your nose line, where can you put your eye line before it starts looking bad. You have to learn these things about yourself because unless you're talking to me or some other really nitpicky photographer, they're probably not going to point it out to you. You're going to get the image back and be like, I look weird.
Well, and I imagine there's quite a lot of comfort. Like if you know where you look bad, then you'll know as long as I'm not in this position, then I'll look good and I can be more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So learn those things about yourself. But eye line, nose line, and kind of just like being able to shift your weight. That is all way more important than almost anything. If you can get those things down, you're better than most of the people who are just starting out and be like, I'm a pretty face, model me. And that's not really how that works.
There you go. Be a Greek statue and know your angles.
Essentially. That's the title of this episode now.
All right. Well, thanks for sending in your question. As always, we really appreciate listener questions, and we'll try to do one at the beginning of every episode of season 2.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So there you go.
All right, so let's dive right in. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so this is following on from episode 1. We encourage you to go back and listen to that one as well after you're done listening to this one. But we're basically interviewing each other and trying to get into each other's minds and philosophies around shooting.
Mind reading.
Yeah, mind reading. And so, we talked about my adventures underwater in the last episode, and now we're going to talk about your adventures doing something,
Stuff.
which we don't know yet because we're about to learn.
Yeah,
doing stuff. So first question, which is I think pretty much what you started with me, which is why do you pick up a camera?
As you put it so eloquently last time, money.
Compensation.
So there are things that personally fulfill me, like the pinup calendar, because it's exciting and fun, and I genuinely enjoy my job. That thing of like pick a job that you enjoy doing and you'll never be able to pay rent. Is that how the quote goes? Did I get that wrong? Something like that?
Well,
something like that. You'll never work a day in your life because
yeah.
people don't hire artists anymore.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I don't know. Someone correct me on that. I don't know. The quote.
Work in a supremely devalued industry and
quote,
being happy.
The quote was something along those lines, I think. But I digress. No, so I do genuinely enjoy my job. It was not my hobby first and my job second. It was my job straight out of college, and it was my job because, one, it was something I extremely loved, and two, it was the only thing I was really good at. So jack of all trades over here.
Master of none.
I am master of one, but as the quote never ever gets finished, a jack of all trades is still better than a master of one, because I'm bad at quotes today.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're the jack of all trades is a really hard thing to pitch. Like it is fun to be sometimes, but it's a hard thing to sell.
Out of 100 things, you're better at 99 of them. I'm really good at the one thing.
Yeah, but think about it this way: like if somebody comes to us and says, Ben, you shoot photos, Stuart, you shoot photos sometimes. What are you really good at? And I have to say, I'm not really good at anything. I just kind of have a general understanding. And Ben can say, I'm really good at these things, and then he looks way more attractive as a result. So it's not. Being a generalist is not all it's cracked up to be.
And nothing will change. You're just going to be more generalized.
I will just be more and more generalized.
Anyway, digressing.
So
once again,
why do you pick up your camera?
Yeah, so it was
compensation.
It was both my job and I can't even call it a hobby. It's something that I do to enjoy myself and my time, and it kind of really is. So I actually have a story to digress about kind of why I'm a photographer and why I want to do this. So I was shooting a wedding. This was many years ago. There was we'll call her a bridesmaid. It wasn't really it was very low key gymnasium wedding. Like it wasn't crazy. I don't think there was a bridal party, but like this was as bridesmaidsy as you get. So one of the bridesmaids was standing over my shoulder looking at some photos that I took of there was one of the bride, and then there was another one. I had the bride's sister kind of pose next to the little twinkly lights they hung on the gym wall, and she said, "Wow, that photo's amazing. That's really beautiful. I can never look like that." And that was just kind of heartbreaking to the point where I'm like, no, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to do something about that right now. So I started talking to her. I said, but you can look like that. And then she's like,
we can all look like Greek statues. We just learned this.
We did just learn this. And it was, no, you can look like that. And she's like, no, I'm not photogenic. And my response to that is there are no bad subjects, only bad photographers. And if you hate your selfie, it's probably because you're a bad photographer. Which snap, mic drop, out. No, but honestly, there's distortion in lighting and posing and kind of all these reasons why those photos are not good. So I told her I have exactly one click. Like, I'm not gonna do like a full photo shoot with you and like, oh, are any of these good? I will click my shutter button one time. If you like the photo, I get to show your photo and tell this story. If you don't like the photo, I will delete it. No one will ever see it besides you right now. She's like, okay, fine. Like, I'm not gonna like it though. So I did the thing where I had her, pose next to the twinkly lights, and I did all of the little manipulations that I do when I'm doing a portrait shoot. The only difference was normally I would click the shoot to show that people are, just like, oh yeah, that's nice. Click, 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 click. Oh, do this. Click, click, click. And then it'd be like, oh, that's the good one. I skipped all of those because I only had one button click. So I kind of wait and I'm looking and I'm talking to her and I'm able to draw out that moment. I click that button and I show it to her and she goes, that's not me. I'm like, it literally is. No Photoshop has happened.
We were both here.
This is what you look like.
Yeah.
And she's like, but that's beautiful. I've never seen a picture of myself like that. How did you do that? Like, do you have a really nice camera or something?
It's a magic camera.
And I was back then I was shooting on a really crappy Canon Rebel that was like garbage.
Gets the job done.
But it got the job done. So kind of that like what I did for her in that moment was the like, oh, there is actually something good and powerful about being a photographer. This is not just like, oh, I'm an artist, I'm useless type thing. Art can change the world and can change people's lives. And that seems overly melodramatic and might be, but that is why I do what I do. So part of that is like when I do these pinup calendars, like they're goofy and they're fun and they're silly, but they make people smile. And I like that. It makes me smile. It makes the people I give them to smile. All of the people involved have so much fun, and it's just it's fun. And I'm just trying to bring a little bit of fun to people's otherwise dreary, bleak, COVID-filled lives.
Yeah,
for the most part. I just did one, and it was supposed to be, I was going to shoot the new calendar at the beginning of 2020, and then that didn't happen. So in 2021, that was like, well, can we do this? And it took way more planning than it normally does, but it finally came together. So as a side tangent, calendars are for sale at galacticpinups.com. You can get one right now. They are on sale because it's already January. You're losing out the more we go, but no, get those calendars. They're a good deal and they're a lot of fun. So yeah, when someone hires me, that is thing number one. But thing number two is just like I get some vision or flash of inspiration or a thing I want to do that is fun generally.
All right. Okay, so you've got. We'll try to tackle both of these, I think. But
I can kind of expand a little bit. Yeah, so when someone actually hires me, we'll just kind of to be a little more concrete, so we don't have to vague book the whole time. Mm-hmm. The two things that I do a lot. One is product photography of like I am trying to sell this thing. Mm-hmm. You know how to shoot photo of thing to make people buy it. And thing number two is wedding. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of wedding photographers out there. So these are two kind of completely opposite trains of thought, but they're the two things that I'm really good at. So I'll just kind of side parallel tackle.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of have my next question would be sort of related to both of them at once, which is, now that you're picking up your camera to do this thing, whether it's product or wedding, is there a different approach as you start into that project between the two, or is it the same approach? Like, is one very, mechanical and very kind of rote memorization almost, where you're following steps, and the other's very arty, or are they both arty, or neither? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's definitely kind of this intro process of research. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to a wedding couple, the research is literally just like our client meeting, sitting down. Hey guys, tell me your story. Tell me your likes, your dislikes. Do you have favorite colors? Are you more modern minimalist? Are you more rustic chic? Like, what is your style? What is your vibe? Do you want overly bright? Do you want dark dramatic? What are, this is the research. Just like, what do you like? I'm going to shoot the type of stuff so that I know you like it. Like the part of it is I have style, but the other part of it is like, well, everyone's a little bit different, and I'll kind of cater my style a little bit towards what they like. Like there was one groom I was talking to, and he's like, I really love silhouettes, like so much. So whenever we would do a shot, I would take a second shot where I clicked off my light, and I had a second preset set to my camera that was a silhouette shot. So it'd be normal shot, silhouette shot. So like he got a lot of silhouettes, and it wasn't that hard for me because all I had to do was click a little dial preset on my camera, and all the settings went to silhouette mode essentially. So there's research when it comes to a product, kind of like who does this? Does it need to look bright and fun? Does it need to look, sleek? There is something kind of rote memorization when it comes to like knives of like knives need to look sexy, and all the glare needs to be in the right places so they look shiny and sharp. But otherwise, that's like cool. Here's the thing: make it look good. There's not a lot of research that goes into that. There is something exciting about every product is a little bit different and handles light different and shape is different and the quality and materials and the color and all of that. So there is something that is kind of rote memorization about it of like, when you hand me the blade, I know how to do the blade part, but then there's a handle, and well, now the handle's different than the handle of the one before it, which is going to take light a little bit differently, and there's all that. And of course, weddings, no two weddings are the same. There's the little bit of that of like I have the workflow and timelines that I suggest and all of those things, but there's still flow of the day and the vibe of the couple. There are some couples that are just like soft, cute, beautiful, and there's some couples that are just like, we're launching dirty jokes back and forth because that's the thing that makes them like laugh and smile and whatever, and like, all right, cool, I'm here, let's do this.
So when you say research, I wanted to expand on that a little bit. Like, are you so obviously you're getting the couples likes and dislikes and that kind of stuff, and you're looking at the product. Like, do you go scope out like, are you looking at the setting, at the the venue? Are you looking at the time of day? Are you like how far are you going into this to like nail down the exact look that you want?
Yeah, so there's one wedding that I did. It's funny, this has come up a couple of times. You helped me with it. So there's one wedding that I did that was a live shoot. And what I mean by live shoot is all of my camera was tethered, and all of the photos were showing up on the tether on a projector as I was shooting them. So every photo during that portrait hour needed to be perfect because I had 300 guests looking over my shoulder judging me. So I did so much planning for that, and the one thing I did not account for was the position of the sun was completely wrong by the time I actually got, even though I was like, time of day was the same, but it was like a month later and it was winter, so the time changed drastically, and I'm like, oh, it's sunset now. Well, those three things don't work. Change, adapt, come up with something new. So yeah, no matter how much planning you do, there's not a lot. When it comes to like venue planning, I don't feel the need to like, oh, I must go drive out to this venue and see the venue. Like, I'll look up photos online and kind of get the gist of it, and I'll definitely ask the couple, like, what is the thing that that attracted you to this venue? What is, people are like, I love like the balcony overlooks the lake. Okay, well, now you have to get a photo of the couple on the balcony overlooks. This is very, very easy. I love the floor to ceiling windows. Very, very easy. Get photos of them in front of the floor to ceiling windows with whatever the view is out that window. So just by asking them, there are things that you can do. There is a term that I heard when you walk into a place that is the little gifts. And so when you walk into a place, there's sometimes the obvious things, but there can be these little gifts or vignettes that are something not necessarily obvious that the place gives you, just like a plain brick wall with beautiful texture and doesn't have a bunch of like trash in front of it. that is a little gift that you can have. It's a super easy one to work with. Some of the other little gifts can be just like an interesting placed mirror that allows you to get a lot of depth kind of throughout the room, or having a window, like a window that's like in the corner, so it's on both sides of the corner with curtains. Well, now all of a sudden you've got these beautiful V-flat light shapers, and you can do all kind of cool kind of slit dynamic. There are all these little things that you don't necessarily think about until you just walk into the room, you spin around, do a 360, and you're like, okay, this room has these 4 things I can work with. Let's do this.
So I'm getting the kind of vibe that, product stuff is quite constructed and
a little bit.
A little bit. It feels like that anyway. Am I wrong?
If you're shooting like the e-commerce for Amazon on white stuff, all of that is pretty constructed. There is a little bit of like, you have to change these things to get just like the glints to look right. The really, really fun part is when you do the hero shot, because then you're not constrained. It can be in an environment, or you can do something kind of like any photo you've seen of an iPhone, just like make it sexy. Like, what is it about this?
And always the lighting, reflections are perfectly lined up with the corners
whether it's a reflection or the edges or a close-up of maybe a texture. Like, what is it about this product that makes it sexy and makes someone want to buy it? And that is different for anything. Like, that is very different from like a buck knife to a Leatherman knife. Even though they're both knives, 2 very different types of people buy those knives, and the hero shot's going to look vastly different.
And I guess by comparison, weddings at least feel to me, I've never been solely responsible for one really, but it feels a little bit more, there's a little bit more vagueness. Am I wrong in that assumption? Like you've got, are basically my question would be, are you wandering around during the wedding and know that you have to get, A, B, C, D, E, F shots? Or is it a little bit more freeform, or is it some combination? Like how does the vibe go on the day?
Yeah, if you're new shooting weddings, one of the things that can be helpful is to have a shot list. Make sure you don't forget any of these shots. Do not forget the family photos. Photos of bride and her mom, photos of dad, photos of, them and grandma. They always want a photo with grandma, and they never tell you they want a photo with grandma until grandma has already left the building.
Fun.
Happens all the time. Stop myself from cursing live on the podcast. Okay, no. So like, you have to get the ring shot. You have to get the first kiss. If you miss the first kiss, you can't say, "I'm sorry, please kiss again." It is not the same. I very much feel that way with exits as well. You can have them run through the tunnel once. When you have them run through the second time, everyone's like, "Oh, yay, we're doing this again. Yay." It is not the same. So some of those are like, you have to get the shot. You have to get the shot the first time. And if you have no experience doing weddings, a shot list is a great way to do that. But if you've done it a bunch of times and you're like, "Oh yeah, that happened." The other thing too is like, not every wedding has everything. So like, I was doing a wedding, it was a Catholic wedding, which I just kidding. I love doing all weddings of any denomination. No, Catholic weddings are my least favorite, because at least the ones that stick me in a photo pit, they're like, "By the way, the ceremony is gonna be 2.5 hours, and you're not allowed to leave this 5-foot square." I'm like, well, crap. What do I do for the next 2 hours? No one has moved or done anything interesting. Neat.
Cool.
No, so there was this one wedding where I brought kind of these other photography toys, and I was just playing and messing around and trying to be creative because I could not leave the spot for the next 2.5 hours. And we leave and we get into the limo. I'm like, "Hey guys, did I like fall asleep or something? Or did you not have a first kiss?" Because I'm scrolling through my photos in a panic because I did not get a photo of their first kiss.
Look, I didn't miss that, did I?
And they look at each other and go, "Holy crap, we did not have a first kiss. The priest skipped that part." I'm like, "Oh good, it wasn't just me." There is something to be said for not everything happens at every wedding. Like, obviously, there are some religions or ceremonies or just by choice different customs that are not going to do everything. But as long as you're getting all of the things that the couple wants and that the day dictates. Other than that, it is a little more free form.
I was going to follow up by asking, like, what other than the stuff that's obvious, that's planned, like, what are you looking for? What is your approach to that free form stuff? Like, are you exerting like more control over the environment where you're trying to put people in certain places and pose them, or really like set something up, or are you reacting more? What do you do with that free form opportunity?
I've got like 5 different answers to this question.
Go for it.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
So answer number 1 is going to be what am I thinking? All I care about is the couple. That is it.
All right.
So in saying that, I care about all of the guests because the couple invited them. If you're at the wedding, it's because you were important to the couple. So I want to get a photo of you for the couple. I want to get, the photo of the family because it's the couple's family. But when it comes, I want to get all of the details and designs. Obviously, I want other vendors to like me and keep referring me. So I want to keep them happy. I want to get the food is really hard because by the time I get around to the food, the buffet table is cold and sad. But I did have one couple where food was like their top priority, and they had the chef make a plate for me up front, like the same time they were getting their food, so I could photograph a hot, sizzling, beautiful, delicious plate. They're like, we want that. I'm like, yes, I also want that. That sounds delicious. But to say of like, I am very focused on the couple of like, I'm not just gonna, screw off for like 3 hours and be like, all right, they're talking to people, whatever. No, if they're talking to someone, that person's important to them. So I'm kind of hovering around, and like I might be, shooting a photo of like this table decor, but I'm kind of keeping an eye on them. And when they're having a moment, I'm taking a photo of that moment. I don't really care so much about like, oh, they're having a moment over there if they're not the couple, just because they didn't hire me. The couple might be like, oh yeah, that's my cousin Dave and his coworker's girlfriend. And I'm like, we don't care about them. Like, I don't know who these people are. I don't care.
Fair enough.
But okay, so that's I pretty much care about the couple, and I care about all the things that will make the couple happy, and that's basically what I'm doing. Of like, I do far less guest shots and table shots and like the details that you would use for a magazine, because I'm focusing a lot more on the things that the couple wants in the album and prints for the wall and stuff like that. But I need to run back. Hit me with the question one more time, because I need to remember my other 4 answers.
Yeah. So the question was basically like, how much. What is your philosophy when you've got this extra time that isn't these preset shots? Like, are you trying to construct and control things, or are you just kind of going with the vibe?
It depends what part of the day it is. So basically, if they have a coordinator who's being bossy, I love it. Coordinators are the best. But otherwise, it falls on me, because I'm the person who's standing there. So from the beginning of the day all the way up until the ceremony starts, essentially, I am running again, unless there's a coordinator. I don't step on their toes. I let the coordinator be the bad guy, but I'm essentially running the show and making sure the train goes on time. And like, I'm not going to be mean to a makeup artist or anything, but like, I'm kind of keeping manage out of like, oh, they still need a few minutes. What can I do to be constructive? Oh, you are, putting on your dress and starting to lace up. I love that. Can the 2 of you go stand in front of the window? So I call it nudge. They're Freakonomics. They do a bunch of podcasts about like the nudge unit and all the little things you can do to kind of change behavior. I don't fabricate moments, but I will nudge moments.
You'll encourage them.
Yeah, I will encourage moments. So like, if dad is getting choked up seeing his little girl for the first time in the beautiful white dress, I can tell her like, hey, why don't you go stand over by the window? And I'll tell him like, why don't you go give your daughter a hug? And so now when he walks over to give her a hug, instead of being in a really bad fluorescently lit hotel hallway, it is in front of a beautiful window with with great lighting, and they're actually going to like that photo. So that moment would have happened, except now I'm there to be able to shoot it without just getting the back of his head under a fluorescent beam. So like I'm nudging to
directing kind of,
yeah,
but using your environment.
yeah. So it's not being bossy or fabricating, but like I'm nudging things to happen in a better way than they would have happened. When it comes to the ceremony, 100% hands off. You do not get in anyone's way. You don't do anything. You stay to the outside ring of like all the guests. You block no one's view. That is the only part of the day I'm a fly on the wall. That's it.
All right.
And then when you get to the reception, you're like, my job's done. Peace out. The DJ can take it from here. They can do all the logistics and time managing stuff. And then you're just kind of like chilling and doing stuff. And if I see something cool, I'll be like, hey guys, come here a second. Do the thing. Great photo. Go eat food.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I think about and manage a wedding day. Once we get to the reception, I'm like, I did it. Yes.
Nice. So I have a really hard question, which is, what if you screw up?
That has never happened to me once before, ever. Oh God.
And I'm giving you a lot of latitude to describe what screw up it is.
Oh man. I'm trying to think about a time I screwed up so I can talk about it. I feel like most of my things are things that I saved by the skin of my teeth rather than completely screwed up. Like,
well, sure. Describe something you saved then.
Yeah. There was, so it was literally the day I was supposed to walk at UW graduation. Mm-hmm. I instead shot my very first wedding.
Oh, all right. I didn't walk either, so I'm right there with you.
I skipped my graduation to shoot my very first wedding. I've been doing it full time ever since. During that wedding, the church lady was just, I've since learned that a church lady is not a coordinator. They're not there to be in your best interest. They're there to make sure the church doesn't get destroyed and to like take care of the caterer. That's it. So the church lady was being super mean and like, oh, this wedding's going to happen whether you guys like it or not and whether they're here or not. I'm like, I don't think you've ever been to a wedding, lady. And so they start yelling at us and I'm like, I don't have any photos of the bride and groom together yet. Like, can you give me a minute? She's like, you have 4 minutes. I'm like, okay, let's do this. And guess what? I was using a really cheap non-pocket wizard. It was a trigger that had eaten it, and I had fixed and soldered it several times before, and the soldering came loose. So cool. I had no flash, no lights, no assistant, and I had a ticking time clock with about 3.5 minutes left. Okay, let's do this. And I just did the best I could, which at the time, I'm pretty impressed with what I came up with. Although that was like 10 plus years ago, and if I looked at those photos now, they're not good. But at the time, they were.
That brings up a good point, though, which I realize isn't more philosophical, but you're relying hugely on your equipment to perform in a wedding because, like you said, there's certain shots like the kiss where if you don't get it, you're screwed. Like, how do you handle that? Do you just have redundant everything, or what's the philosophy?
So this didn't happen during a wedding. This I went on a recent trip to India, which I'm sure we'll talk about as a travel thing soon. But the guy, we had a guide for the Taj Mahal that let us skip a like several mile long line. They're like, oh, you're white. You just get to walk in.
Interesting.
It costs you 10 times as much as it costs any of them. But like, I'm like, it's like $6. I'll live. So we go in and he's like, hey, leave your bag, all your stuff, leave it all in the car. Like, we'll be waiting for you. Don't bring anything. And I'm like, okay, so I just grabbed my camera, and I was using my Lumix camera, not my Canon camera on this trip, and the battery indicator is not as good as you think it might be. I think you already know where this is going.
Yeah,
I crossed the threshold. There's that gate at the Taj Mahal where you can see the main spire building through the gate. I crossed that threshold into the beauty that is the gardens with the small minarets and everything. Dead battery.
Great.
Neat. Cool. Did I have a second camera in my bag? Yes, I did. Did I have 4 batteries in my bag? Yes, I did. on a wedding day, do I have redundant stuff? Yes, I do. Does that always save you from messing up? No, it does not. So I whipped out my potato of a cell phone and started taking photos with my cell phone. We'll see if you guys can tell the difference. That'll be neat.
I mean, hey, at least you recently got a phone that had a better camera. So
Still not great, but it is better.
It's an upgrade.
Yeah. God. I mean, sometimes like if you're not watching your like I have learned from experience when I have to change my battery in the middle of the day. I still have battery left. I'm like, nope, this one's done because it could go at any moment. Usually for me, that's right before the ceremony, just because like my specific camera model, I know how long that battery lasts. Because otherwise you end up as you may now kiss shut down. Oh, son of a... and then I'm scrambling. Like I always have like a spare battery on my person. It's not sitting over there in my bag, so I don't have to run and do it. And there have definitely been a couple of close calls, and there have been 1 or 2 times where like I missed it, but then he goes back in for a second peck, and I'm like, oh, thank God, and just motor driving the hell out of it. But no, just stuff happens.
Anything for the shot.
Stuff happens. You do your absolute best. You just do your best. That's you like you were saying last time. You prepare, and then it goes wrong, and you throw out all of your plans, and you just wing it with whatever you have. That's
fair enough.
Yeah.
So, going into the end of the day, you're wrapping up, and you're putting all of your gear together, and maybe you go home and you start ingesting your photos. Like, what have you shot that day? Have you shot like way more than you need? Have you shot exactly what you need and nothing more? What are you looking at?
I very much prefer the sniper mentality over the machine gun or the shotgun mentality, which for those of you listening, the sniper mentality is I have thought about this, I have framed this, I have shot this is the photo, versus the machine gun mentality is
that's my mentality.
The spray and pray, and then you go, oh God, why did I do this to myself? When you're looking through hundreds of identical photos
and shelling out for more hard drives.
Yeah. No, so there are definitely moments of the day where I motor drive of just like anytime they're walking and I need to get a walking shot during the ceremony when they're doing like first kiss. So there are moments where I have to do that, but for the most part, I stay away from motor drive as much as possible, and I try and compose those shots so I have shot exactly what I need. The day of, on a normal wedding day, my normal wedding day is probably about 10 hours long. My base package is 8, and I would say at least 50% of my couples add on extra hours on top of those 8. So, by the time I'm getting home, it's like 2 a.m. and I will upload the one photo. My camera has a feature where I can 1-star photos in camera. So as soon as I get home, I just filter by like in Bridge or whatever, and that like 2 or 3 photos.
So you're filtering during the day?
No. There is going to be a shot, and you're like, oh, that's a good one. Don't post that one. Because that's the one that if you post it right now, they are not going to buy it later. You save that one. And then the one that is, that's almost as good as the first one, that's the one you post. So you post your second best because you got to have your best photo for the reveal when you actually see them. But you post your like second or third best photo like that night, so they have something exciting for the next week or two while you're working on their photos. So it's like 2 a.m. I always make sure that no matter how tired I am, I back up all of my cards like in triplicate. So they get backed up to my computer, they get backed up to my Synology Bay, and then they get backed up to Backblaze. So I have got 3 different backups that night. So even if the next day my house burns down, Backblaze. By the way, Backblaze, you can get a free month. # not sponsored, but please do it. So I also get a free month.
# affiliate link.
Yeah, affiliate link. So click the thing, get a free month of Backblaze. It is lovely, and I will never stop singing their praises because they have saved my banking more than once.
So if you're not machine gunning, like, are they just all bangers? Does that make editing really easy? How does that process go? Are you just like, I'm done?
Hey Stuart, do
amazing.
you know the difference between a really good photographer and not a good photographer? The really good photographer only shows the really good stuff. They could be the same photographer, but one's better at editing.
All right.
And I don't mean Photoshop. I mean culling down and being like, of these 10 photos, these 9 are trash and this is the good one. So
how do you decide that?
Yeah, so they're not all bangers. Just straight out of the gate. Like, one of the things with a wedding of, like, if I don't have another choice and something is slightly out of focus, I don't care. That is the one I have to pick from. Sometimes they complain about it and I'll be like, well, you know what? That stuff happens. Like, that's what I got. If you don't like this one, fine. Sometimes I can be like, it's artistic. It's usually not. It is usually not artistic.
I'm an artist, and that's intentional.
No, an artiste. Excuse me. No. So as I'm going down, I don't like to do this philosophy of like, oh, you have one chance to look at all your photos and get your favorites, because that is way too stressful and you'll spend too much time flip-flopping. I've tried researching other photographers and kind of like sitting over their shoulder and watching them edit so I could write a book about it. And I did a failed Kickstarter on that. The Kickstarter did not succeed, so the book did not get written. But I will come back to that one day. But one of the things I found is that a bunch of people just like, oh, is A better or is B better? A, B. Okay. I think B is better. Oh, dang it. C is very much the same. B, A, maybe. I was like, oh my God, this hurts. So, so one thing is just like go with your gut. Thing number 2 is look at all of the similar ones on screen at the same time. Just be like, broop, none of those, and broop, those are good. Okay. So just like your basic, like, which ones are you happy to delete from your computer? Like, that is the first, just like, broop, those get deleted. And the next passage is like, all right, these are kind of similar. Just like go with your gut. If they're T, like, keep them both, whatever. Broop. And then you kind of do like, I call it a quality control check. Be like, okay, I've already gotten rid of the trash, and it's just kind of one more bypass of just like, you know what? They have 4 shots here that all look the same. If it's family photos where people might be blinking, I leave those in anyway. But like any other part of the day, I'm like, no, these 2 are actually the best ones. Whether it's technicality of sharper, more in focus, or whether it is like artistic framing or someone running through the background that I didn't see the first pass or something, whatever it is, I'm just like, nah, these are better. So essentially I try to give like an 8-hour wedding 800 images, just because that's kind of how many images happen. But like if it's 600, so be it. If it's 1100, I might have done something wrong, but I do that pass and they're all different. I'm like, I was just on fire that day. I was getting good variety, so it happens.
So you providing all of those to the client, all the 800, or how much are you giving them out of the final package to pick from?
What I give them everything once I've culled out all of the garbage. So when once I've done kind of those passes, then everything gets your basic color editing, make sure white balance, blah 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 blah, yada yada, and then those are all the photos. So when they're like, oh, but are there any more photos? No, there are not. You were blinking and looked like a doofus. There are no more photos. But yeah, so they just kind of like get all of them. But the next part is much less about the technicality of the photo and much more about what is the client experience that you're bringing to the table. So, sitting them down, showing them a slideshow, bottle of champagne, making them feel great about these images, making them feel great about your albums, making them feel great about kind of the story of the day and how you're going to craft that, and then just leaving them with a positive experience. And then there's more technicalities about kind of how I actually edit these images, but like that is far less important than just making the experience, because people will not necessarily, everyone tells me like, wow, you did such a great job today. And for a long time, I was very confused by that compliment, Because I'm like, you haven't seen anything I've done today. How do you know? This could be garbage. You don't know. No, it's because you handled yourself well. Like you were there. You inspire confidence. Just like people are like, wow, that was really great. I was at a wedding last week because it's wedding season. I have to do 14 of them this summer. Like I was at a wedding last week and like, the photographer was a mess and it took an hour and a half to do family photos and you banged out in like 8 minutes. I'm like, yeah, how I do.
So is that something that you think comes with experience? Like, I feel like maybe new wedding photographers would be so focused on getting those shots that they're not managing the client experience. You think that comes with experience? Is that something that you had to learn, or is that something you kind of figured out right away?
No, it did not come naturally. It is definitely something I had to learn. You can be a crap photographer and make your clients happy and make a lot of money. And you can be a really good photographer, but completely fail to actually meet those needs and expectations and wants and desires that come around the whole experience thing, and you will not make any money. So that is something that I had to actively seek how to learn and fix and kind of create this good client experience. It can definitely be a doozy sometimes.
But it sounds like focusing on your clients, something to watch out for. You're shooting weddings.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
Like maybe think a little bit less about the technicalities of your photos and think a little bit more about managing your clients.
Oh yeah. I posted I posted a before after of a wedding that I did. And when I say before after, it was here is in my opinion, a crap photo. Just like it was badly lit with, the fluorescence in a hotel and no window and just like, meh. It was meh. And then I said, here's what happened. I turned off the lights in the room. I remember when I was talking about that corner with the curtains, I did some magic with that corner windows and the curtains, and I created this really cool dynamic light, and he looked real good, like James Bond good. I'm like, yeah. So as a teaser on my Facebook, I'm like, hey guys, we're doing this podcast where I do tutorials and talk about stuff and YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. And like, here's the before after of this really cool thing I did. And the couple's like, oh, I love it. And they posted the before.
Oh.
Neat. But like, you know what? Honestly, I don't care. They are happy with the photo and like, cool. That is the thing that like, if you are the artiste, like, dude, no one cares. They care that you make them feel good. So like you just kind of have to let go of that and brush it off and be like, you know what? They liked the before. Oh, they're going to like all the other afters that I have to show them from the rest of the day so much more. So like, you know what? They're just excited, which is great. That is the best kind of client to have. The worst kind of client is one that goes, it's okay, I guess.
So keep your clients happy. Yeah, pretty much.
Essentially.
It's the name of the game. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop.
That was a very comprehensive deep dive into my brain. That was too far.
And products are comparatively boring.
Comparatively. We can get into that another day.
We've been talking about so much wedding stuff, yeah.
So much, yeah. I mean, 50% of what I do is weddings, and then the other 10 genres of thing I shoot make up the other 50%. So it's
fair enough.
There's a lot of wedding stuff going on up here.
Yeah. All right. Keep your clients happy. That's what we learned.
If you have questions or ideas for future episodes, you can email us at hello@photo-op.show.
Watch us on Ben's YouTube channel at NomCreative.
As in Om Nom Nom.
Share this with a friend, and you can listen to Photo Op anywhere podcasts are sold.
Or download it. 'Cause it's free.